everybody, Dan Illman here with the DRF race of the day for Thursday, September the 21st. It's race number 7 at Belmont at the Big A. We're going 1 1/8 on the turf. It's a second level allowance with a $62,500 claiming option. Let's take a peek at this field. Please scan or click the QR code for race of the day access on mobile, which includes free Formulator Pass performances. Trainer Chad Brown has 2 horses in this race. He has the 1 exact estimate and the morning line favorite, the 8, Francesco Clemente, coming in from overseas. A horse that's shown a lot of talent in his career, but one that's a bit green. One of his major problems is he doesn't get out of the gate very well. So as we throw up the Timeform US pace projector, I think it's fair to sort of slot in the 8, Francesco Clemente, who obviously lacks pace data, being a European raider, near the back of the pack, assuming he'll just break slowly. Expect the speed to come from the number 2, Tide of the Sea, who's cutting back in distance. I think his speed is a little bit more effective at longer trips, but he looks like the speed breaking from post 2. I expect the 1 exact estimate to try for a pocket trip, the old pace tracking, ground saving journey in behind the leader. Good Skate, the number 3, should be close to the pace as well. This pace should be fair, dependent on whether Tide of the Sea pulls hard in the early portion. Let's start things off with the exact estimate, and I think we should be very forgiving for his most recent race. It was a race where he finished 11th of 12, beaten 9 lengths, and just doesn't look good on paper, but I think there were extenuating circumstances. The pace of that race was very, very fast. An exact estimate was up close to the pace while losing ground. A horse that was up close to the pace in that race that also tired badly was the 7th place finisher, and that horse came right back to win a $500,000 race at Kentucky Downs with a 99 Buyer's speed figure. The race exact estimate comes out of went to closers. He was up close to the pace while losing ground. This time around, he'll be up close to the pace while saving ground, and the pace might not be as fast. Go back to his start 2 starts back at Belmont, going a mile, where he kicked him down on the stretch. That's probably more indicative of his ability, and he has a lot of upside potential. Tide of the Sea is number 2. He's been around for a long time. He's a speedball. He usually campaigns at longer distances, as he did in the John's Call, the Belmont Gold Cup, races where he was a pace presence both times. We go back to the Fort Marcy 3 starts back at a shorter distance, and he ran quite well when on the lead. He just pulled hard. He opened up a huge advantage, and he was able to finish second behind Ottoman Fleet, a good horse from the Godolphin stable. If he gets to the lead and is able to back down the pace to a reasonable half-mile posting, something in the 47 or 48, Tide of the Sea figures to be strong in the stretch. He fits very well at this class level. Good Skate's the number 3. He's winless on turf, but he's only raced 3 times on this surface. One coming off a little bit of a layoff in a second level allowance race for Michael Maker, where he finished behind Daunt, one of the major contenders in this race. Last time out in the John's Call, going 1 5/8, where maybe that distance is just a little bit too far for him. His race 2 starts back is probably the best indicator of what Good Skate really is. It was at this second allowance level, and he was able to finish second that day behind Pioneering Spirit, who's a useful horse. Good Skate was in against a tough field last time out in the John's Call. Tawny Port came back to run second in the Cape Henlopen at Delaware with a 92 Buyer's speed figure. He has good tactical speed. I respect anything Michael Maker puts out on the track, and he's cutting back to a distance that might fit him very well. Daunt is the number 4, and he's getting class relief. He was in 2 graded stakes races up at Saratoga this summer, the most recent one in against Pioneering Spirit, who came back to win the Bernard Baruch with a 100 Buyer's speed figure. Daunt ran his best in both of those starts to finish 4th. He's the kind of horse, in my opinion, that runs to the level of his competition. He has wonderful tactical speed. He is able to get good trips in the majority of his races. The annoying part is that he always seems to find 1 or 2 better than him at the wire. I think if you go back to his race 3 back at Belmont, second level allowance, that's probably what he is against these kind of horses. That was a race that went to closers, and he came from the back of the pack, but he was the one that provided cover for the winner when he was making a 3-wide bid on the turn. He stayed on gamely to finish second that day, and you know what you're going to get from Daunt, and it's usually a really solid performance. Freedom Trail is the number 5, and he's going to be facing older horses for the first time in his career, coming off a 3rd place finish in the Kent Stakes at Delaware. The excuse for that race was probably the soft ground. It was very, very soft and testing, and Freedom Trail just might not have handled it very well. It was also at a distance that might be a little bit long for him. He ran okay against a couple of next out winners, although it's worth noting that the 4th place finisher, one of the 2 next out winners, needed a $40,000 beaten claimer at Monmouth to win. He did so with an 88 Buyer's speed figure. figure. Another horse with upside, blinkers off for John Terranova, a very good trainer. Ronstadt is the number 6. We're going to watch his most recent race, first level allowance at Monmouth. He looked pretty good in here. There wasn't really a ton of pace. They went 50 and change to the half. Ronstadt comes from well out of it. He did get a pretty nice trip all in all. He beat a couple of minor next out winners. The third place horse coming back to win a first level allowance at Monmouth with an 86 buyer. He's in very good shape for an underrated barn, but he is taking a significant hike up in class. Joel Rosario picks up the mount on the 6, Ronstadt. Tis a Giant is the number 7. This is going to be his third start off of a short layoff. He scored a Colonial last time out for Michael Trombetta, and I thought all in all, he got a good setup in a weak race. You can go into your Formulator past performances and just click on the date. You'll be able to get the chart of this race and see the next out performances of some of these horses. They have not distinguished themselves just yet. Tis a Giant to me, though, looks like a horse that needed time to mature. He's probably reaching peak maturity right now, but is another horse, in my opinion, that's taking a big step up in class. Francesco Clemente is the number 8, and he's really the key to this race for Chad Brown because he began his career and he showed a lot of ability. He won his first 3 starts for trainer John Gosden and then went to the sidelines for 300 days. He came back at odds on, his race 2 starts back, and he ran very, very well to be second. You could argue that he beat himself. As usual, he broke badly from the gate, and then when it came time to turn into the straight, he bore out considerably, and I think that forced his jockey to get into the race a little bit early with this horse. He was in strong contention at the furlong pole, and he just got beat. Again, only his first race off of a 300-day layoff. His most recent start, the connections put cheek pieces on, maybe to try to get him to break better, maybe to try to get him to focus better. Well, he didn't break better, but that race probably draw a line through for 2 reasons. One, the trip wasn't there after the bad break. He was sort of in and among horses and never could find his best stride, and he was in against a good field. Bolshoi Ballet was in that race. We saw him come over here and win the Sword Dancer over Daunt, a grade 1 stake. So he's getting Lasix for the first time. He's with Chad. He doesn't break well. He's green. He's also very talented. You might want to demand a little bit of value, but if he shows up, he's likely going to give a very good account of himself. Alternate Reality completes this field. He's trying turf for the first time. While his sire Alternation isn't really a great turf stallion, he only wins 3% with first-time turf runners, 8% with turf routers overall. There's plenty of turf on the bottom of this pedigree, including the Dam, who was a multiple stakes winner on the surface. Alternate Reality is stepping up against older horses after facing $75,000 claimers on a muddy track. Jackie Davis picks up the mount. The horse is really going to have to run a career best as he switches surfaces and stretches out in distance. Before we take a look at my top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time for me, I'm going to give Daunt one more chance. I know he shows up in each and every start. He usually works out good trips and can adapt to any kind of a pace situation. Francesco Clemente is sort of the marquee name of this race. I have a feeling he's going to take a ton of money, and if he's up to some of his old antics, missing the break, racing greenly, drifting out, maybe he can be had in his first start in North America. So maybe Daunt at a slightly better price will be my top pick in the race of the day for Thursday. Good luck.